Que no se ven las aceras.
Hoy tengo que subir, espérate.
No one expected Europe to wake up to a storm that felt straight out of an American extreme weather documentary. But that's exactly what happened when Storm Claudia roared across Portugal, Spain, and the United Kingdom. What began as a low-pressure system near the Canary Islands quickly transformed into a sprawling powerhouse, unleashing tornado-strength winds, flash floods, and rainfall totals that shattered local records. For millions across Western Europe, ordinary routines disappeared in an instant. Vacationers enjoying calm coastal mornings were suddenly running from collapsing roofs. Commuters found themselves trapped by flooded highways. Entire communities watched rivers rise faster than emergency crews could respond. And as images spread across social media, the world saw just how unpredictable today's storms have become. This is the story of a weather event that didn't just disrupt travel. It exposed how fragile modern infrastructure is, how quickly danger can strike, and why extreme weather is no longer just a seasonal headline, but a global reality we all share. Storm Claudia announced itself with no subtlety at all. By mid-morning, radar across Portugal lit up with swirling bands of intense rainfall, the kind that dumps multiple inches of water in a single hour and pushes drainage systems past their limits. In Albufeira and the greater Algarve region, what started as a steady downpour quickly escalated into a chaotic wall of water and wind. Streets filled faster than drivers could turn around, and gusts strong enough to rival a weak tornado tore across rooftops, balconies, and lightweight structures. As the storm tracked northeast into Spain, the situation only grew more volatile. Andalusia, Seville, Huelva, and Cádiz were hammered by relentless rain bands, triggering river overflows and urban flash floods that ripped through neighborhoods with little warning. Emergency alerts blared across phone networks, urging residents to stay off the roads. Public parks, coastal walkways, and major tunnels were closed as winds strengthened to more than 70 miles per hour, strong enough to topple trees like matchsticks. Then came the next wave thunderstorm cells, drifting in from the Atlantic, each one intensifying as it crossed the Iberian coastline. In some regions, rainfall totals reached nearly a month's average within a single afternoon, overwhelming storm drains and leaving rescue teams scrambling to respond. What Europe experienced was not simply bad weather, it was a full-scale atmospheric assault.
Tirar los contenedores allí en medio. Joder.
As Storm Claudia pushed farther north, Western Europe shifted from disruption to full-scale emergency. In Portugal, more than 1,300 weather-related incidents were reported. Within 24 hours, flooded streets, downed power lines, collapsed walls and trees torn from the ground. Rescue teams moved from neighborhood to neighborhood, helping families trapped in rising water, while road closures isolated entire districts. Spain faced an equally intense assault. 7 provinces across Andalusia were placed under orange or yellow alerts as river levels surged and city streets turned into fast-moving streams. Tornadic winds damaged agricultural complexes, ripped roofs off warehouses, and sent debris flying across highways. Emergency crews worked alongside local police, clearing fallen trees from major boulevards and sealing off flooded tunnels before commuters could unknowingly drive into danger. By the time Claudia crossed into the United Kingdom, the storm had transformed into a sprawling system stretching hundreds of miles. More than 120 flood alerts were issued nationwide, with London, South Wales, and parts of central England hit hardest. Rail lines were submerged, travel was halted, and power outages rippled across communities as gusts approached 70 miles per hour. What made this phase especially dangerous was the storm's slow movement. Instead of sweeping through quickly, Claudia lingered over the region, sending repeated waves of rain and wind through countries already saturated, exhausted, and unprepared for another blow. Europe wasn't just enduring a storm, it was battling a relentless chain of atmospheric punches. Across the Iberian Peninsula and into the UK, the damage from Storm Claudia became brutally clear. In Portugal's Algarve region, entire neighborhoods looked as if they had been ripped apart by a giant hand. A tornado linked to Claudia struck Albufeira with devastating force. Caravans overturned hotel facades, torn open glass shattered through hallways, and lightweight structures flattened within seconds. An 85-year-old British woman lost her life when her bungalow collapsed, and dozens more suffered injuries ranging from cuts to critical trauma. In Spain, major cities like Huelva and Seville faced severe flooding as storm drains failed under relentless rainfall. Roads turned into rivers, funneling debris tree limbs and vehicle parts across urban streets. The Santa Maria del Huerba ravine overflowed, sending muddy water into apartment basements and storefronts. Catamaran ferry services were suspended as waves battered Andalusia's coastline, and multiple highways were closed due to landslides, collapsed embankments, or fallen electrical poles. Farther north, communities in the UK confronted a different kind of threat: deep, persistent flooding. Streets in Herefordshire, Devon, and South Wales vanished underwater. Railways buckled or disappeared beneath floodwaters. Schools, businesses, and entire neighborhoods shut down as rescue crews waded through chest-high water to reach stranded residents. Everywhere Claudia passed, the aftermath was the same: homes, ruined livelihoods shaken, and ordinary people suddenly forced into survival mode, facing losses that would take months or years to repair. Storm Claudia wasn't a typical Atlantic storm drifting toward Europe. It was the product of a rare atmospheric chain reaction. Meteorologists across Portugal, Spain, and the UK traced its origins to an unstable air mass near the Canary Islands, where unusually warm ocean temperatures fueled rapid moisture buildup. That warm, moisture-rich air collided with a powerful upper-level jet stream sweeping in from the west, creating the perfect environment for explosive thunderstorm formation. As Claudia traveled northwind, shear intensified, twisting storm columns and enabling embedded tornadoes to form over land, including the one that devastated Albufeira's coastal resorts. With sea surface temperatures running higher than average this season, the storm tapped into additional energy, helping maintain its strength far longer than typical autumn systems in Western Europe. In Spain and Portugal, saturated soils and narrow drainage systems amplified the flooding risk. The storm repeatedly stalled over the southern regions, dumping several months' worth of rain within hours. Meanwhile, in the UK, Claudia interacted with a blocking high-pressure system to the east. This unusual setup prevented the storm from moving on, trapping it over England and Wales and producing relentless rainfall bands that traveled over the same areas again and again. Scientists warn that storms like Claudia, fast-forming, moisture-loaded, and long-lasting, may become more frequent as climate patterns shift. The storm's behavior fits a broader trend: warmer oceans, stronger rainfall bursts, and increased tornado-producing conditions, even in regions historically unprepared for such extremes.
Estamos en la playa. Yo que estamos en la playa, hermano. No frenes, socio. Yo, no frenes.
When the winds finally calmed and the floodwaters began to settle, the true scope of Claudia's destruction came into focus not just in broken structures, but in shaken communities, trying to make sense of the chaos. In Portugal's Algarve region, residents formed human chains to remove debris from narrow roads, clearing paths for ambulances and fire crews. At the devastated campsite in Albufeira, tourists and locals worked side by side, searching for missing belongings and comforting families who had lost everything within seconds. Across Spain, emergency shelters filled quickly as families fled rising waters in Huelva and Cádiz. Volunteers brought blankets, food, and lanterns. In villages near Seville, church halls opened their doors around the clock, offering warm meals and a place to sleep as thunderstorms continued rumbling overhead. Meanwhile, in the UK communities near swollen rivers in Herefordshire and central England, braced for another night of heavy rain, neighbors checked on elderly residents. Farmers moved livestock to higher ground, and local councils distributed sandbags by the thousands. Despite the destruction, acts of resilience emerged everywhere. Firefighters wading through chest-deep water, medical teams treating the injured under emergency lights, and ordinary people stepping forward when it mattered most. Claudia didn't just test infrastructure, it tested the human spirit. And across 3 nations, communities proved that even under the weight of a relentless storm, solidarity can be stronger than fear.
Não, vocês não têm noção. Isto parece aquela cena... Ai, foda-se!
Storm Claudia was not just another winter storm. It was a symptom of a rapidly shifting climate system stretching across Europe. Meteorologists noted that Claudia formed unusually quickly near the Canary Islands, feeding on warmer than normal ocean temperatures that helped intensify its rain bands and wind fields. That warmth acted like fuel, allowing the storm to sustain multiple extreme events at once: tornado-strength gusts in Portugal, catastrophic flash floods in Spain, and days of relentless rainfall in the United Kingdom. Scientists warn that this multi-hazard pattern is becoming more common as the atmosphere holds more moisture and storm tracks slow down. Instead of passing swiftly, systems like Claudia linger, dropping a month's worth of rain in a single day, overwhelming drainage systems, and triggering tornado-like vortices in regions where such events used to be rare. In places like Albufeira and Huelva, experts pointed to the same underlying concern. Urban areas built near coastlines, ravines, or low-lying floodplains are increasingly exposed. Even well-prepared countries struggle when back-to-back storms hit saturated ground, fragile hillsides, and aging infrastructure. Claudia highlights an uncomfortable truth. Europe's weather is becoming more volatile, and the ripple effects reach far beyond damaged buildings. From emergency planning to building codes and early warning technology, this storm shows how urgently nations must adapt. Nature is changing the rules, and it's happening faster than many expected. Storm Claudia's path across Europe was more than a headline, it was a wake-up call. In just a few days, it tore through holiday resorts in Portugal, flooded historic cities in Spain, and pushed the UK's emergency systems to their limits. Millions watched as communities scrambled to protect their homes, their families, and their futures. What began as a low-pressure system near the Canary Islands became a powerful reminder of how quickly weather can escalate in today's changing climate. Yet amid the destruction, there were moments of resilience, firefighters pulling survivors from collapsed bungalows, hotel staff sheltering frightened tourists, neighbors using whatever they had, from blankets to flashlights, to help strangers caught in the storm. These scenes show that when nature hits hardest, people still rise to meet the moment. But Claudia also raises a bigger question. Are we prepared for what comes next? With storms becoming more intense and unpredictable, the need for stronger warning systems, smarter infrastructure, and climate-ready communities has never been greater. Thank you for watching. If this report gave you insight into Europe's extreme weather, make sure to like, share, and subscribe for more in-depth coverage of the world's most powerful storms and the stories of the people who survived them.